All right, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us all here tonight for another session of Telos Live. So good to see you all. There's a lot of familiar faces, and as always, I am still watching waiting room because there's always people who are coming in the next few minutes. So just forgive me if you see my eyes glancing all over the screen. But look, so good to see your faces tonight, and I did need to play some different music. We've been playing pretty much the same music all year, and I thought, what better song to play than one about hills and valleys, given that tonight's topic is about navigating our life's quest. So look, great to have you all join us, and especially to the new ones who are joining us here today for this Telos Live session. And we're really going to have a great evening. Now, as always, what I would love to do is simply bring on and invite my co-pilot for tonight. So I'll welcome in the lovely Ella. And Ella, as usual, do you want to say hello to everyone?
Hi, everyone. It's really good to see you all. Thank you for joining to our Telos Live. We have a beautiful guest speaker tonight, Maria Lacey. Let me introduce Maria. Maria is a registered counselor. She is hypnotherapist. She is fantastic healer using the sound and frequency vibration. A meditations teacher. She is a spiritual teacher. She is a Reiki master, and she is so much more. But mostly what I love about Maria, and it's her big heart and her softness, and approach to people, approach to things in a very simple way. Thank you.
So in a moment, we'll bring Maria on, but just for those who are joining us new tonight, I just want to share with you a little bit about what these Telos Live sessions are about and how they actually run. So Ella and I started Telos Live probably at the beginning of the year because we felt there was a real need to really gather and bring some spiritual speakers and teachers to come and share their wisdom and knowledge. And Telos and the Flame of Eternal Light is a community that was really born out of helping people develop in their consciousness, helping them really develop their spiritual gifts and bringing together a community of light. And so over the last 3 years, as we've been building and growing this community, we knew it was important to bring on like-minded, heart-centered people, teachers and healers that we really connect with on a deeper level, to come and share with our community and to share with people around the world. So if you're here tonight, you're definitely in the right place. And for those of you, just to let you know how tonight will really work. So tonight, in a moment, we're going to bring Maria on. And for the first half of tonight, we will really be just doing a bit of a question and answer with Ella and myself. We'll get to hear a bit about Maria's journey and some of her background, some key insights of her wisdom and her teachings. And then at the halfway point, we'll actually hand over the session to Maria, who'll take us through some teaching of her own and maybe even share some sound and some healing energy with us. And then finally, at the end of the night, we'll actually open it up. We'll bring everybody on screen and open it up for some general questions and answers for any questions you have. So in the meantime, if you do have questions as you're listening along to Maria, feel free to put them in the chat and I will facilitate them at the end of the session. And also let you know tonight, for the first half, as we go through, we will have everybody muted, and that just helps to keep the background noise out. And it'll just be mainly myself, Ella, and Maria who'll be sharing and chatting, and you can just listen in and gain some of this wonderful insight. So let's, without ado, I think Ella's given a wonderful introduction to let you know a little bit about who Maria is and some of her background. But let's bring Maria in. So Maria, welcome and thank you for joining us.
Thank you. It's such a delight to be here, and I just feel incredibly privileged and so lovely to see some beautiful faces, people that I haven't seen for a little while, and it's just lovely to connect with everybody. So thank you.
Excellent. And it's a wonderful group, and I think if people's energy is always open to learning and growing and evolving. So it's a nice space. Every month we get together. I get excited because I get to learn too from some other, teachers and people. And so I know you've been on a bit of a journey, Maria, but I'm going to hand over to Ella because Ella's got a question for you to help open up tonight.
Thank you, Les. I would like to ask you, and probably people would like to know, how did your spiritual journey started? What's happened that you were awakened? Would you like to share with us, please?
Yeah, thanks, Ella. That's actually a really, it's quite a profound question, because realistically, if I really know, my spiritual journey started from birth, as it does for most of us. And I came into this world in a domestic violence situation. So for me, as this newborn and this young child growing up, I had such a connection to the spirit world that I didn't understand why people didn't see the spirits and everything that I saw as a young child. But then as life went on, as it does for a lot of us, is that I got married. I got married at a young age of 20. And my ex-husband now was someone who was adamant. He was almost frightened of the fact of me being quite intuitive. So I shut it all down. And I had a couple of children. I was working. And then by the time I was 33, my marriage was over. And that's when something incredibly powerful happened. I remember laying in my bed, and I had both my children on either side of me holding on for me for dear life. They were frightened that I was going to go too. And I could barely move, and I couldn't actually even cry because I didn't have the privacy to do so, and I didn't want that to sort of affect my own children. But what happened in that moment was I saw a shadow at the end of my bed. And I then smelt lavender powder. And I realized it was my grandmother. And in a very short moment, I fell asleep so soundly that I didn't realize that when I woke in the morning, I felt so protected and so loved. It was then I started to remember everything. And then, of course, what ended up happening as the time went on and my children went off on weekends to their fathers, if anybody's been in that situation, whether you're a mum or a dad and your children are away from you, it's you don't know what to do with yourself and you're always concerned about them. And I was woken up one night with the sounds of children giggling and laughing. And I was like, what is going on? And they were in both my children's bedrooms. And it was actually spiritual children. They gave me a great sense of comfort. And until eventually 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning when I'd say, please be quiet. I am tired now and I do want to go to sleep. So that again was me reconnecting with the spirit world. And then 6 months later, I was standing in my kitchen, and I think this was the real moment of an awakening for me. I was looking out at the sunset, and if anybody's been through any sort of trauma or grief, you find that you get into a bit of a darkness, a bit of a dark cloud. But the sunset was shining so brilliantly, and I'm looking out through my kitchen window, and then all of a sudden, this golden energy, this light just started coming towards me. And I'm going, oh my God, that's coming towards me. Next minute, it hit me up my third eye. And I literally fell to the ground. The overwhelming love was unbelievable. And that's when everything pivoted for me.
Wow, it's an amazing story. And it's interesting for many people, this time we were been chatting about on the weekend, that sometimes this time of awakening can be those moments that we go through, those soul-defining moments, that really take us out of the comfort zone or throw us out of the normal. I mean, in those early days, when that happened for you, Maria, how did you build your connection with spirit? How did you learn to work with them? Because obviously it may have been quite new, what you were experiencing. So how did you go about connecting?
It was a remembering, Les. So initially it felt new because I had obviously closed it all off. But then as soon as it started all happening, it was a remembering. But then I decided to join a meditation class, and a local meditation class. And little did I know, the woman who was running it was an actual medium. And what ended up happening one night was I had this terrible cough. So if anybody knows or has gone through anything, you can often have psychosomatic responses. So for me, it was a cough. And so this terrible cough, and you imagine trying to do meditation and you're coughing. And next minute, I hear this sound of this breathing of this strong male, and I'm thinking, there's no men in this group, it's all women. And next minute, bang, right on my throat, I felt this hit, and I sat there like a stunned mullet, literally. so I didn't know what to do. At the end of that class, my teacher grabbed me and said to me, and I said, "Oh my God, did you? Well, who was that?" And she laughed and she told me, "That was your guide, and he has been waiting patiently." Then that started a journey for me. And that's when I joined Monica Mueller's class not long after that, who's an incredible medium, and started to really awaken to my mediumship, my trance channeling, and all sorts of different things that started to happen.
Wonderful. And it's nice how spirit kind of worked with you on the way to lead you to the right people. And Monica and Klaus were both amazing, mediums and still are.
Yeah.
Ella, do you have a question for Maria?
Yes, thank you. It's funny how our guides letting us know and choking us. I have exactly the same when my guide is coming through. I just have this very dry cough, very, very strange dry cough. So I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I know, Maria, but you are author as well.
Yes.
You recognize this?
I do. You've got my book. I didn't realize that.
So, and I know you channel the books, and I don't know, something is telling me that usually you will go to Hawaii to write and channel books. Please share with us.
Yes, I did. I did go to Hawaii. In actual fact, I can see Frances is here too, because she was on the same writers' retreat that I went to. It was something unexpected in reference to going to Hawaii, but that's not where the channeling began. Though, Ella, the channeling began after my near-death experience, but I did go to Hawaii. I wanted to follow the path of my ancestors, as in the Māori Polynesian ancestors of Muriwai, and I knew that she had come from that region, and while I was there it was confirmed Kauai, which was really quite beautiful. But yes, during this beautiful writers retreat I started to channel, and in actual fact that's when I wrote this book, Travel the Frequency with Us, and that book is all channeled, and they do use me as an example. The Guardians of the Light are who I channel, and they are a collective of guardians, and they hold the energy of the light, and they always talk to me as I am one of them and they're one of me. So they've had some great wisdom over the years. And in my first book, the one that you've got, I literally started channeling them. And then they really encouraged me, like majorly, that I had to write some of my story, which was most probably one of the most scariest things I ever did. But it was an incredible journey of understanding myself, but also understanding what the collective is and where I've come from, and the fact that I know I'm a star child, and all those sorts of things.
Would you like to tell us a little bit about the light language?
Yes, look,
Please.
the light language started when I was very, very young as a child. So when I was a child, I used to sit in the bath and I would wrap my arms around my knees and I would sing this language. And when I sang it, I felt like I was calling home. I felt that I was connected. And it was a time, it was the only thing that for a young child that actually gave this child some hope, if you can understand that, you know. And so, so that light language started from a very, very young age. But as I grew and as I experienced certain things in my life, at one stage I was led to New Zealand and worked with Tohunga over there, a spiritual leader, Maori shaman, who's come down the lineage. And I spent 3 years working with him. And I did lots of rictuals and was welcomed into the tribe, even stayed overnight during one of their major things. I was the only white woman, or Pākehā as they call it, that was invited to attend. And I did lots of different rituals and healings. And when I sang, apparently at one stage I was singing Old Māori. Which I had absolutely no idea that I was.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, a light language is a language of the soul. I sing my soul's voice, and there are many voices to the soul. Does that resonate with you at all, Ella? Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. Les, back to you.
Yeah, Maria, look, I had a big shiver when you mentioned Kauai, because Kauai has been on my list of places to visit for a long time.
Yeah.
And the reason is I've got a very strong connection to Hawaii. Every time I've been there, I feel there's an energetic connection, and it's just the energy. But also with Ella and I, with Telos and the Flame of Eternal Light, the energy is very grounded in Lemuria, and I feel it's very connected to Kauai. But while you were there in Hawaii, I mean, did you feel obviously the ancestral presence of, the kahuna energy and that Hawaiian energy? And also, could you just share a little bit, because some people may not know what the collective, you talk about the guardians of the light, but what is this collective and who are they? So maybe just share a bit about that.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. Kauai is an amazing spiritual place. And just, firstly talking about that, I actually saw a city come up through the ocean at one stage when I was in Kauai, and it was just amazing. And you're right, there is a huge Lemurian energy, and I met some of the guardians while I was there. At one stage, I've travelled all over the world being led to different places, and when I go, there's often a ritual or a ceremony that I do, and I usually branch off from the rest of the group and go. And I want to share, one thing that happened when I was on Kauai, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
I got up early one morning and I went down to the ocean, and I didn't know why I was going. I just knew that I needed to do this. So I don't ever question, I just follow the path. And all of a sudden I saw this seal, a huge seal, and it was just slumped on the sand. And I went, oh my goodness, that's exactly where I need to be. So I went and stood at the edge of the water. Now, I wasn't in the water, it was just lapping against my feet. And I then raised my hands and I started to sing my soul's voice, the language. The next minute, I found myself like a wave of water just came over me, and I felt myself going deeper and deeper into the sand. And I looked, and I was in the water to my waist, and I had absolutely no idea how I actually got there. I came out of the water, and as I came out of the water, I stood in the sand, and my feet literally went down into the sand to just under my knees. And I could feel the heartbeat of Mother Earth. Mm-hmm. And it was the most amazing experience that I've ever experienced. And it was almost like my heartbeat started to beat in alignment with Mother Earth's heartbeat. And I felt the gift of that moment. So it may not say, it sort of almost does it injustice talking about something like that. when you reiterate it, but when you're experiencing it, it's a very profound experience. So I hope that sort of helps. But yeah, Kauai, you guys need to go. It is just,
it's meant to be the heart chakra of the world. So
it is absolutely amazing.
Mm.
The Guardians of the Light, as I said, I had a near-death experience. Do you want me to share that?
Yeah, that's one of the other questions we had, because I know tonight's about understanding our journey, and obviously for those who go through a near-death experience, they obviously are many levels of awakening that actually appear and many lessons that are learned. So yeah, it's probably a great time for you to just share a little bit about those and actually, what difference did they make to you and how did they change your perception in your life?
Yeah, it was huge. I was 49 when I had my first near-death experience. I was having surgery for a hysterectomy, and during surgery, I left my body, and I was floating in the theatre, and I was just watching. I could just watch and see everybody doing their bits and pieces. And next minute, I hear this shrill sound, and it's actually a phone in the theatre. And I'd hear this nurse saying, "I'm sorry, but Peter cannot do another shift. He's worked a late shift already." And then I look over and I see this man who sort of winked at her at the same time, and I thought, "Oh, that must be Peter." Anyway, all of a sudden, I hear this almost like 1,000 screams, and I'm thinking, what is going on? And I see the surgeon cutting my body, and it was like every cell was screaming. And I thought to myself, I'm not going back in there. And these huge masculine hands hovered above my abdomen, and I thought, I know that feeling, and obviously, bang, I was back in. Now, after that experience, when I was in recovery, I had this male nurse talking to me, and I hadn't met him before going into theatre. And he asked me what my pain level was, 1 to 10. And I just looked at him and I said, "You're Peter." And he just didn't say anything. What ended up happening, something happened during surgery, because when they took me up to my room, I kept slipping out of my body. And the nurse came by and I said to her, "Something's going wrong because my heart's stopping." And I remember her patting me on the hand saying, "Don't worry about it, dear, everything's fine." And the next minute, there's bells and everything everywhere. People are running around, because I obviously was. And when I want to sort of share with people who are maybe frightened about death or uncertain about it, going from breathing in the physical to breathing in spirit is effortless. And being in that space is the greatest silence, peacefulness. I can't explain it to you, but it just is the most peaceful, loving space you could possibly be in. Anyway, a few days later, I ended up being on oxygen for 3 days, and there were complications, obviously. Now, I didn't at the time think that I'd had a near-death experience. I will be honest and tell you that. And I spoke at an Afterlife Explorers conference in Melbourne, one of the first ones they ever ran there. And I was talking to one of the top experts from America. They brought her over. She was one of the top experts for NDEs. And I was telling her about my experience. And she said, "So tell me what happened." This is a couple of years later. And I said, soon I started channeling the Guardians of the Light straight afterwards. And it just happened. My hand just started going. It was going nuts. And I said, and soon after, I closed down my business, sold my house, and gave everything away. That's when I packed everything into my little Toyota Yaris, had a very, very small storage unit, and went house sitting for 12 months, looking after people's pets, and wrote my first book. So that's what happened.
And was that Maria, was that something that just came to you? Was it just downloaded to you? Was it just a knowing in you that you had to do that? How did you get that sense?
I woke up one morning with my voice speaking in such a soft and gentle tone, saying, "It's time, Maria. It's time to move." And within a month, I'd sold and off I was going. I was 52 at that stage by that time. And my friends were so concerned and worried about me. What is she doing? You know, she's never going to be able to afford another house. You know, my children had already grown up by that stage because I had them young, and they were already out of home. But yep, it started another journey, but also some incredible learnings along the way.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And before I hand to Ella for the next question, it just reminds me of two things, because this has come up for the second time now. Last month it came up as well. This thing of just, listening, not questioning, and following the path. And I think that's kind of the message that's come out of the last two Telos live sessions with the speakers we've had, that they have tuned in to that trust and that knowingness and just following and listening. Not necessarily knowing where the path will head, but taking that next step in faith.
Absolutely. And you're right, Les. I think if you would have mostly asked a lot of the other speakers, a lot of them would have been like myself, that have experienced a life where we have not listened. And, if you have a look at the front cover of my cover, Ella, it's a pathway and it's got stars. Okay. And when I was at a low point at one stage, before I sold my house and everything, I came home after not a very good situation and came back to my home. And I was stopped in the middle of my lounge room, and there was a picture hovering above the floor. And what I could see was this golden path. It was the most amazing looking golden path. And as I looked to the furthest, it was almost like a light, a lamppost. I remembered a situation of when I was a child, and I remember receiving guidance and me being stubborn and taking a different route. And it was like these little tributary lines heading out off the path. But then they brought me back to another memory and another memory and another memory, right to this very, very point. And I literally fell to my knees and sobbed, not because of sadness, but relief. And the relief is, beautiful people out there, is that we will always often go off our path. But the most exciting and the most wonderful thing is that we will always be guided back to it. And that's what this path showed me. So for many of us, we have not listened, or we've taken our own route because we have free will. We're born into this world with that. And we have ego, and we have fear, and we have all the things that, our frame of reference, our experiences in our life that tend to create certain belief systems about ourselves in the world. And so I now choose to follow, because it's simpler, and sometimes it is a quest. As in, I have to climb that big darn mountain, and I'm not a small person, but I can't tell you how many mountains I've had to dumb or climb on my journey. But it's okay. You get there and you're guided.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. And Ella, over to you. Is there another question you have?
Thank you. What a beautiful message, Maria, you just gave us. That we're just human and we will always make mistake.
Yeah.
But, to realize that, to be aware that you made a mistake and you can go back always, if you wish, on your pathway.
Yes.
So this is really beautiful. Thank you very much. When you were talking about the Hawaii and opening of the third eye chakra, I saw something, and this is the message for you. They show me that you are high priestess, and you were performing ceremony, So no wonder that the light language is kind of the second language for you.
Yeah.
And you have a beautiful voice, and you know how to bring this beautiful energy to people who are following you.
Yeah.
So thank you.
No, thank you. That's beautiful, Ella.
I would have one more question, if I may. I know that you've been in America. You were invited for the big Body, Mind, Spirit Festival. Correct me if I'm wrong. Would you
Yeah.
like to share with us,
Yeah,
please?
it was actually for a magazine that I was writing for.
Right.
Yeah, Sybil magazine, which is a women's spiritual magazine. They invited me to go to the United States, to Charlotte, actually in North Carolina, the most beautiful, beautiful place. And honestly, it was just amazing. And so they invited me to come and to speak. And so what I did was I took up the offer. It was a whirlwind trip, Ella. I didn't have a lot of time at all because I had to basically get back and working again. So I was there and back in 5 days. But it was magical as far as the people, and the people of North Carolina are just the salt of the earth. They are so filled with spirit, and they are I sang to them as part of my talk, was singing to them in my voice. And next minute, it was quite amazing. Some of them, all in the audience, started to sing as well. And it was this huge, and I'm sorry, I've just got tears, this huge collective of voices that and they weren't prompted to do that. They just started to do that. And it was the most magical experience and the most humbling experience to be invited, but also to be embraced by that community. So it was beautiful.
Absolutely. I can only imagine. Thank you for sharing with us.
Thank you.
And do you have any profound message for our listeners right now? An enlightened message for them?
The words that are being shared to me is that everything is opening to see you. So remember that although at times you may feel that you are not being heard, not being listened to, and certainly not being seen, everything is opening to see you. So open your heart, allow yourself to be in a place of grace and presence in this moment, and you will find that the synchronicities, the beautiful signs, the butterflies that will pass your way, the white feathers that will drop in your path, the smiles that you'll get from strangers, and you think, what is that for? And that is because they recognize your soul. And so illuminate. The guardians of the light say very strongly that for a lot of people, they feel helpless in reference to what's happening with world events. And the most important thing is that you can do something, and it is as simple as sitting with your hands on your heart and illuminating your light. Because as you illuminate your light, you raise your vibration, which adds to the collective consciousness. And that will help any suffering throughout our world. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Les, back to you.
Thank you for sharing that, Maria. And Maria, I think you talked about the cover of your book, and I like the image of the path and the stars. And you also shared a little bit about, obviously, how there's sometimes different paths we may take. And usually our soul knows that there is a path that is always available for us.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to share, and I hope she doesn't mind me, the lovely Anna is with us tonight. But last night, her guide shared something similar, but kind of shared it in a different way and said, some of us will be taking secondary roads, those B roads. And when we travel the B roads, there's often a lot more crossroads and places we have to stop in intersections.
Yeah.
but there's always available to us a highway or a better road, a road that is designed for our soul. And I like that metaphor because it spoke to me, because I've been coming across a few crossroads this year, and wondering, okay, why is this appearing? But for our listeners and people who are watching in today, I know some of them, we've been called on this quest to pursue our spiritual path. And sometimes it's not always as easy as we first intended. But for those who kind of maybe feel stuck or get in those places where they feel helpless or stuck or not knowing what to do next, what would be your kind of insight around how to navigate those moments?
Is to stop trying. It's simple, is to just step back, take a breath, and have a soft gaze upon your path, rather than trying to focus and trying to push and trying to make things happen. Things happen when we actually least expect it, and often that is because we are in a space of being able to be open to receiving it. So for us to be open, we need to be in a place of present momentness, and to sit with it, sit in silence, even if it's 5 minutes a day, without expectation, but with anticipation. And just sit within that silence and write down anything that comes to you, and just trust and know and believe your path will open to you. The signs will come. Hope that's helpful.
Thank you. And kind of leading on from that, I know when we spoke initially and we were kind of planning this session tonight, you talked a lot about, some of the experiences you've also had with past lives. And we talked a bit about, the gifts that we have that we incarnate with. It's almost like they're showing me in the spirit world suitcases that we packed with some different gifts and resources and abilities and other things. But as we incarnate into this life, how can we make better use of those gifts? How can we connect with those on a deeper level and start to embrace them, do you think?
I think firstly it's believing that each and every one of you have gifts within you. I think that's the first thing. It's very hard in human form because life can be quite challenging, and it's very, if I think about when I was in spirit, in my near-death experience, it's silent, it's peaceful, so you can flow, but in this world it's very noisy and it's very chattery, and we have lots of things that are happening within our own space, in our own mind. As you're aware, I've been led to different countries, and I've actually been fortunate to have two past lives confirmed. One by the abbot in Bhutan, and in the monastery called Tatsang Monastery, Tiger's Nest Monastery, and one in New Zealand with Koro and the people in Whakatane. And they were spontaneous things that started to happen to me. I didn't mean to go into past lives, but it would happen walking through my house, or I would be awoken. I'll be taking my class through a meditation, and next minute I would see guides surrounding them, and I would be experiencing a past life as if I was really there. And then I would find that I would come out of that, and I would all of a sudden I'd be hearing my voice still taking people through meditation. And I'd be going, how could I be in two different conscious levels, consciousness? But it would happen that way. But one of the things when I went to Bhutan, when I received confirmation of my past life in Bhutan, was that I realized a lot of people talked about past lives in spiritual circles as if they were a chain that you carried from another life, and they're always difficult things. And the reason why this is happening to you is because you've pulled it in from another past life, and you're doing these things. And yes, I'm not denying that. But what I know to be true is that we can pull in those gifts from our past lives. And that is because we are in a quantum field. Everything is happening all at once. all you need do is sit in the center of the quantum field. And the easiest way to sit in the center of the quantum field is to sit within your heart. And just sit within your heart and ask that you be shown those gifts. Ask that you bring those gifts into this life. And ask your guidance to be there for you, to help you understand your gifts as they come through. You know, and it can be really powerful when you start to realize that, because honestly, when I started to awaken, and I would have one awakening after another awakening after another, and it was like for about a period of about 10 years, I traveled every year to different countries, and I didn't have the money to go, but I would have a vision or a dream, and next minute I'm there. And it was just, and I put things on my credit cards, and as soon as I landed back on the tarmac in Tullamarine in Melbourne, I would get client bookings. But every one of those journeys that I went on was changing my energy field, was helping me to understand the meridians of the land and the ley lines, and the and it was also helping me to understand my gifts. Does that make sense?
It does, yes. Thank you. And I like that, just sitting within the heart and asking and to understand. And I think the other one too that, I find with clients is also, coming to the stage of accepting your gifts.
Yeah.
I find for some people, we haven't yet stepped into the identity or the consciousness of fully accepting what spirit have for us.
Yeah.
And there's more, and that can sometimes feel a bit confronting, like, who am I? Am I ready? And it's just that place of acceptance. So thank you. Yeah,
that's so true, Les. Absolutely.
Yeah. I know we're going to hand over to you in a moment to do some sharing. But before we do that, while we've got this opportunity, do you want to just, in a nutshell, and I know you've got lots that's been channeled in your books, but in a nutshell with each of them, what's the kind of essence, people are interested, what's the kind of the message or the essence that they would get from those books and the messages from the guardians?
Okay, so the first book was very much about me and part of my journey. It also showed me in reference to, I've suffered anxiety all my life. I've been like a deer in headlights and struck with fear because of the things that I've been through. So the Guardians of the Light really wanted me to share that with others to help them understand that doesn't matter. I mean, I've been a spiritual teacher for quite a few years, and people really didn't know that about me. So it was really important that I actually showed them that none of us are impervious, and that we all have a human aspect of us that is really can be challenged in life. But the Guardians of the Light in that book were basically sharing a lot of life's truths in reference to questioning me. So it was a question answer thing, and so they were sharing lots of life's truths and helping me to understand even myself through that. And hopefully, and what I've had is a lot of people have come back and said to me, wow, I really needed to read that. Or others that have read it loved the first part of my story about me, but weren't quite ready to hear what the Guardians of the Light were saying, and that's perfectly fine. The second book, Travel the Frequency with Us, again was about, if I just even sort of just say the chapters, it's about trust, truth, trust, love, the power of light, the journey of connection, the teacher and the student, energy exchange, higher mind activation, for the sensitive empaths, awakening of the feminine, the energy of love, boundaries, moving through the pleasure and pain of life. So it's just literally, there are a number of different sort of processes that people can use for themselves as well in that.
Wonderful.
So
well,
hope is a big thing.
Hope is a big thing. I think hope is one that we all need at this time in our world.
Yeah.
So, Maria, look, I think it's perfect timing to kind of hand over to you. And I know you mentioned a little bit about using the voice and your light language. And I feel you're going to share some of that vibration, that energy. But we're going to hand over to you, for the next 15 to 20 minutes to really just, speak from the heart and share with the people that are here tonight, because I know Spirit are in and they're connected with us and they kind of know the energy transmission that wants to take place. So we're going to leave you on the screen. The others can sit back and just relax and listen in. And I think you're going to take us on a wonderful little journey. So we'll leave you to it.
Thank you. So lovely to see everybody, and thank you for your willingness to experience tonight. I will actually use my voice tonight, and I do have a beautiful crystal bowl which is attuned to the heart chakra as well. Now, one of the things that I'm sure a lot of you have experienced where your thoughts and your mind tend to take over. And you find that you sort of can't get out of that. That becomes such a powerful thing. So you're sort of thinking to yourself, how am I going to be able to connect to spirit? How am I going to be able to connect to my higher self? So I would love to, and only if you're willing, of course, is to take you through what the Guardians of the Light have taught me, which is a higher mind activation. Okay, and this activation is a beautiful activation. It's described beautifully in my book, and I usually do a little bit of a short circuit of it, but it is a powerful experience. So if everybody wants to just kick back and relax and just close your eyes. And firstly, what I would love you to do is feel your feet on the ground. So if you're all sitting, just push your feet into the earth. Just allowing yourself to feel grounded to Mother Earth. Giving yourself that opportunity. And then I want you to imagine that beautiful energy of Mother Earth coming up through your feet and right up and into your heart center. And I want you to feel and sense the heart chakra really becoming so beautiful and warm and loving. Just feel the love, because the heart chakra is connected to love. It is so powerful. And you are a powerful being. Remember that. You are more than just flesh. And just feel your heart chakra radiating this beautiful warmth. And now that energy is going to flow up and out and up through your crown chakra. And as it goes up through your crown chakra, I want you to focus just above your crown chakra. Maybe about 10, 15 centimeters above. And I want you to see a golden flame. And as you focus and imagine that golden flame there, it becomes brighter and brighter. Now this is your higher mind. This beautiful, beautiful higher mind is connected to your heart center, to your soul. Now the physical mind is full of thoughts, but the higher mind is silent. So just allow yourself to sit with that just for a moment. Feel and sense the silence. Now this is a peaceful place. This is a place where you can ask a question and you will receive the greatest of wisdom and guidance. The higher mind is connected to the library of knowledge. The higher mind is connected to your higher self, to the energy of love. So just sit for a moment if you choose and just ask a question and see if you receive an answer. But don't push it. Have that soft, loving gaze and keep your focus on that flame. Now for some, you may get a beautiful answer. For others, it just may be peacefulness and silence, which is maybe what you need. But I want you now just to focus now, bring your focus down to your solar plexus, which is just between your rib cage at the stomach area. Now, if your rib cage is feeling peaceful, then you are connected to your higher mind. You are connected through your heart center and your higher mind. So just allow yourself now to enjoy and embrace that, as I now will also add to the vibration of this through sound and voice. Yoto ke atea, hiato huanea ki atea. Waino waina, yake loko wanea. Hatea shula kiatea muhatea mukuanea shidatea kiatoanea hiatea kuanea shino popolatea makoante hitana 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 wakoate hitana hitana hitana. Iatea pohahunaya kiate hanea. Unaya no. Unaya iahu. As every cell within your body radiates light, illuminates love, breathe, dear ones, breathe. Breathe, dear ones, breathe. For love is light. Love is eternal. Breathe, dear ones, breathe. For your breath is life. Breathe the eternal light and the eternal love throughout every cell of your being. Feel the energy of love as you connect into the earth. And as you breathe in, breathing in love, you breathe love out and breathe that love out through your feet and into Mother Earth. Breathe, dear ones, breathe. Feel yourselves anchored into this earth, for it is a privilege being here. It is a privilege being in this land and on this earth and in this star system. Breathe, dear ones, breathe. Feel yourselves connected to the earth. Feel your heart radiating. Know that you are now connected to your higher mind. And remember who you are. Remember who you are. Child of light, breathe. And when you feel ready, I want you to slowly move your fingers and your toes, bringing your awareness into your room, to the sounds around you, the sound of my voice, and breathe.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that, Maria. That was Lovely. And thank you to your guides as well. Okay.
My pleasure.
Excellent. And while we just let everybody come back a bit gently as they come back from that little journey, a beautiful energy. And the word that were giving me was resonance. It's funny how with the toning and the voice that was almost taking us back to a place of remembering who we are and that connection that we already have.
Yeah.
And I felt that was the key thing for tonight from that experience, is that we all had that opportunity. Because my question was going to be, and I know your guides are very connected with you, and it's almost, they're showing me it was almost like just breathing and they're there.
Yeah.
But for others who are still learning, who are still on that path of getting used to it, what can we do? And obviously this exercise is what we can do, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, most definitely.
Wonderful. Well, what we're going to do then is in a moment, I'm going to take us off spotlight, and just to finish up our session tonight, we're just going to open it up if anybody does have any questions that they may have for you. I know there's a couple that Elle and I still have just as we finish up the evening. It'd be a nice way. And then we'll also find out a bit more about how people can connect with you and your work as well. So I'm going to remove our spotlights, and then we will have a little chat and see if anybody has any questions and any thoughts that have come up that they want to share, or anything that they experienced through that little meditation and sound journey. So wonderful. So thank you. And hopefully you all had a wonderful experience of that. And, it's funny, over the last 2 months, we've been getting messages from Spirit that, what's very powerful is vibration and energy, and using sound and music and the voice is a powerful way to do that. So I'll start off a bit of a question for you, Maria. Is there anything we can do vocally, Maria, that would actually help us to expand, let's say, our heart energy and to come back into that place?
Yeah, absolutely. The sound for the heart is ah, A-H, but said like ah. And honestly, when I got ill and had my second NDE, one of the things that I learned very quickly from my guidance was the fact that they shared with me that our voices are very unique to us, such as our fingerprints are as well. And the reason being is our voice is our tuning fork to actually tune our own bodies. So that when we do any form of sound with our voice, sing, or if we use any sort of chant of any sort, we are actually connecting into all of the cells within our body, and we're tuning our body, which is beautiful. So any sort of sound that you do, the the ahs, anything that you do, la la la, anything that you do will actually help you to tune into your body, but also to tune the cells of your body.
Yeah, wonderful. And it's interesting because over the last few months, we've been doing toning at the beginning of all of our classes and sessions. And what's always interesting is once the tones of everyone blend into that harmony and we become one.
Yeah.
And in that oneness, you lose your sense of self, but you become so connected. It's quite an amazing sound, and you can see people's energy shifting as that vibration settles in.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
It is a beautiful experience.
So let me open up to everyone else. Did anybody have any questions or any thoughts or any insights? You might have experienced something through the meditation. We don't all speak at once or wait for Frances to step up, because she always does, which is nice.
I can see Gemma's written something.
Yeah, see, Gemma, yeah. Okay, let me just take a look. So Gemma said, I went on a bit of a journey there. Thank you for the experience. Gemma, would you like to share a little bit? I mean, if it's personal, you don't need to share it. But if it's something, because I think the experiences we have when we go on those journeys are important, because our guides and the energy is taking us there for a reason. So, Gemma?
Excuse me. Yeah, I mean, I definitely drift. Thank you, by the way. Thank you.
That's okay, Gemma.
And it's very interesting listening to your journey. I definitely can resonate on many levels there. But I think with the meditation, or do you call it a meditation? Would you call it?
Yeah, it would be like a meditation. Yeah, absolutely.
I did go off. and I was still very active. Like my mind was still very active. I was going off to many places there. I was like, oh, it was different, you know. It was different.
That.
I liked it. It was good. Yeah.
Was there anything that in Gemma that stood out in your journey? Like they obviously took you, and sometimes what we receive or the insights, was there anything that you felt was important for you, that they were kind of guiding you, that it was something important you needed to pay attention to?
Yeah, I kept getting shown a door opening and shutting, and then, but something jamming the door. So don't completely shut the door. It was just the door being shown open. I went on there was many things that happened in that 10 minutes, but that was the most poignant one I can remember. I've almost come out just feeling a little bit like wired from it. I don't know, I'll need to come down from it a little bit, but really interesting. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, take that time and do that for yourself. Marie, did you have any insight on that for Gemma? Because I think she needs to process and have some time with it as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, Gemma, the easiest way to process is to sit down after tonight and do some journaling on it. And you'll actually get your answers. You'll find there'll be lots more stuff that'll come through and you'll be going, oh my goodness. So just do some journaling on it, just to allow yourself to process. And remember, everybody, I'm actually a healer too. That's my main thing, is I'm a healer. So ultimately, drink lots of water over the next couple of days as well to help with the processing of everything.
And I've also been told, Gemma, that, like that, what process Maria took us through at the soul star chakra level, there's a deep awakening. It's an activation. And so you're opening up new streams of energy there, which is going to open different things. So just be patient, ground yourself. And as she said, just take it easy and do a bit of journaling and sit with it and ask.
Yeah,
because
that's another thing I was going to say. That was another thing that happened when it could have been a coincidence. I don't know, but you went up to the crown chakra and I can't remember what you said now, but we went up there. We were there, and I was like, oh my god! And I felt like there was light in front of my eyes. And I was like, has my computer screen come on? Like, and I opened up an eye. I was like, oh no. I don't know. I could feel that I could feel that whole crown thing going on. I was like, okay, we'll go with it, Yeah. So I think I'll take your advice. Thank you very much. Do a bit of journaling.
It was a high mind activation, so helping you to remember and helping you to come into a place of awakening. Yeah.
Awesome. I'll leave you with that. Anybody else have any final comments? Anything else? Any impressions that came out from tonight at all? Or any questions? Okay, I'm going to ask a question on behalf of Shona. And Shona, you don't know, but intuitively I'm getting this question from Maria because I feel it's important. And the question they're giving me, just to finish up here, Maria, there's a lot of people who are going through grief in their lives, and grief and loss has a huge impact on us emotionally and on the spiritual, mental and physical plane. But if somebody's going through that, and I suppose as mediums and all, we work with people that come into our field, but as counsellors, as healers, what's the greatest lesson you've kind of learned around this? And I know we could talk about this for forever, could probably write a book on it. But if there was one thing that people could do to help release grief and move beyond it and to work through it, what do you feel it might be?
Firstly, to accept that they're grieving. Okay, that's the first thing, because, acknowledging your grief is really important, and being okay with it. And depending upon what the grief is for each and every one of you, and we all go through different things at times, is that to do a lot of self-care, self-nurture is really important. Having a good support network around you as well is really, really important. And to understand that depending upon what the grief, if it's a loss of a loved one, for example, is to know that there will always be a missing of that person, but as time goes on, and it's a whole old cliche, but unfortunately it is actually true. You will distance yourself from the intense grief, emotional grief that you experienced at that time, and come to learn to actually live with it and to move through it. So, but acknowledging that. But in reference to releasing grief, in reference to even, you know, anything that's happened in your life, if you've moved house, or there's lots of areas, changed jobs, there's grieving that happens, loss of identity, is to allow yourself to nurture yourself and start to look at things in your life that have actually made your heart sing. You know, that can actually just start with one step at a time. Just include something that really makes you feel good about yourself. So it could be as simple as taking the time to watch the sunset. You know, inviting a friend over that you know always makes you laugh. Sitting with your dog, and I don't know whether you can hear my dog. I've just picked up a rescue a couple of weeks ago, and she's snoring in the background. And you know, they are so animals, and that are so beautiful. So allow yourself to move through it, if that makes sense to people.
Wonderful. Thank you for that, Maria. So, Maria, you know, as we kind of come a bit to the end of tonight, just a couple of things. You know, one, if people do want to connect with you, what's the best way to do that? You know, how do they find you out there?
Okay, so you can go to my website, which is marialacey.com.au or marialacey.au now, because they've got the AU now. Go to my website. I love to work with people, to support people, to as a registered counsellor, obviously I work a lot with grief and loss, but I also do a transformational mentoring package as well, which helps people to remove blocks, and especially when they feel a bit stuck in their lives and they're really wanting to propel themselves forward. So that's more of a deeper working with those clients. And I work with all of my gifts, and that is counselling, hypnotherapy, transpersonal healing, the whole quantum field of what I do.
Wonderful. Thank you. And Maria also kindly shared with us some of her music that is on Spotify, and she said it was okay to share it with you. So what I'm doing is I'm just popping it in. There's a link there that I've just popped into the chat. So if you're interested in listening to some of the light language and the other music and some of the tracks on Ascension that Maria has created over the years, this link is there. So you can just take a copy of that and hold on to it, and a nice way to access some more of the toning and the vocal language. So it was really beautiful. So fantastic. Well, look, thank you everyone for joining us tonight. It's been great to have your energy with us. Maria, thank you again, and stay with us, Maria. Don't leave just yet. But thank you again for your gift. Thank you for bringing your energy and vibration. And what I always love with people like yourself, it's just the heartfulness and the consciousness, because I think we all grow, and they're showing me boats, and they're saying that when the tide rises, all the boats rise together. Yeah. And I think here in this community, as we're learning, as we're connecting with others who have walked their path and trusted spirit and learned to follow more deeply and accept their gifts, that we're all being encouraged on that path. So a big namaste to you, and thank you once again for sharing tonight.